Hello and welcome to another episode of Stanning Stanley Tucci. I'm Hannah.
And I'm David, and we have our first guests ever, our first guest stands for the Tooch. We have Max and we have Mac from the Under the Influence video podcast on YouTube. Check them out. Say hi, guys.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us. We're absolutely honored to be the guests on Stanning Stanley Tucci. I mean, I'm
delighted.
Our insight may be acute, but we have the enthusiasm to provide information. So
that's all we ask for is enthusiasm about movies and specifically about the Tooch. If you can muster some enthusiasm,
oozing from us. So.
So definitely say which one of you is Max and which one is Mac.
Max.
I can't point to you on the podcast.
My name is Max, and it can be a bit confusing.
Yeah, you can call me Mackenzie, but I would probably prefer Mac. My name is
Mackenzie. Don't come on.
Yeah.
So we're super happy to be here, and we're incredibly excited. And I think that it's really wonderful that you guys invited us on here, and we're incredibly flattered, and it's given us inspiration for our own channels.
So. That's great.
You'll notice
we strive to be inspirations.
You'll notice the difference in quantity between your guys' videos and our video.
You guys have a hell of a dedication.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we've got to just do a stupid thing. We've got a little update video coming soon. So
so you guys hit that like and subscribe button.
Exactly.
Hit the bell for notifications.
I think you mean
Under
the
influence,
that one person. But yeah.
Todd, thank you so much.
Yeah, exactly. He just watches our videos to get them taken down.
Get rid of these guys.
So do you guys want to describe the premise of your podcast?
Sure.
For those who are not in the know?
Yes.
Max, go ahead.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Yeah. So anybody who's a fan of Hannah and David, please come on over. Try Under the Influence. Certainly. We talk about our favorite filmmakers and directors that we're passionate about, and kind of try to provide a little bit of insight into their, journey and their experience.
And we try to pick people who, again, we're not trying to be like, have you guys ever heard of Francois Truffaut? It's like, no, I've heard of him. And also it's like, well, what about Steven Spielberg? It's like, no, yeah, of course I've heard of him too. Like
we're strictly just, Godard. That's all.
Yeah, we're just trying to. Yeah, we're just trying to pick people, again, like we're not going for obscurity. We're just going for people who are like, damn, how the hell is this guy like not an American household name at this point? Like,
right.
Sure.
Just for being who he is. And I feel like Todd Solondz,
underappreciated heroes.
Yeah. I think the best way that I would describe how you guys are dealing with it is that these are people that you stan. Right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
You guys are stands for today's director, Todd Solondz.
And
talk a little bit about.
We are Solondz.
Super stands.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good name, but that's the best.
I mean, we're out there. We're on the front lines. I mean, we're fighting. I mean, we're Happiness. Todd Solondz' 1998 feature still does not have a proper formatted release. It's still a letterbox, like window box DVD. That's
my gosh,
archaic. I mean, this film needs to be available to the general public so they can serve their families, by watching it together.
I don't know about you guys, but Max and I are both lifelong Criterion fans, and Solondz only gets one film, and it's been on the Criterion for actually quite a bit at this point. But it's it's Dark Horse, which is an excellent film if you've never seen it.
It's Life During Wartime.
Sorry. Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, no, wow. I wish Dark Horse was on Criterion.
Wow. And not that we work for the Criterion.
No, seriously. Again, we always comment and we're like, no. I'm like, if you want to pay us, we will gladly pay us in Blu-rays or something. But no, yeah, it's just crazy because Solondz is just one of those directors who is like, most film people know who he is, but in terms of physical releases and just access to his films, I think that's the big thing.
It's lacking
nowadays too, with just streaming and all that. Like access is so much more important than like name recognition, I guess, in my opinion. Like everyone knows who like David Lynch is. And that's a horrible example. I love David Lynch and every single piece of crap deserves to be released on physical media, but they've done a pretty good job. I guess Hal Hartley, Max loves Hal Hartley. I've only seen like one maybe film of his, but there's another really independent director who you just can't access his films, and it's like a crime.
He's releasing them himself. He's remastering and releasing them like through Kickstarter at this point. And you're just like, wow, oh, man.
It's just sad. Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely missed his
body.
I haven't seen much of it. I mean,
Al Hartley's excellent.
Given me a couple of it, like his short films, I think, to watch, but I admittedly haven't seen them. So.
Yeah, I think, just the fact that you can't really go anywhere at this point and find fear, anxiety, and depression. I mean, that's what we discussed, Hannah and David, initially, that it's like a travesty. And I mean, I just was rewatching the film, and this movie's hilarious. I mean, it's wonderful.
There's films that have been made for like half the money this film was made, and they have already Blu-ray copies of it. You know what I mean? It's not like this is some like weird, obscure movie. But it's just... it's weird. It's obscure, of course, but it's just it's a little shocking. Just like this isn't even on DVD somewhere. Like
it's an important American filmmaker's first feature, and it should be preserved and for other fans of film to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, a little behind the scenes talk for our viewers is the reason we have got in contact with you guys is because we were having such trouble like locating this to begin with, and you guys were able to luckily help us out. Because we will go to any lengths to watch the Tooch, and he has an incredible role in this movie, and it would have been a travesty not to see it.
It is a glorious early appearance of good old Stanley.
Yeah. Our thanks.
First films ever, I think, too.
Right? Yes, this is still pretty early,
right?
Wow. I mean, he was doing television,
Where does this fall on his filmography? Yeah, he was doing television before this.
Because I know
don't have the count in front of me.
You guys covered,
but it has to be one of the first like 3 or 4 because we've only done 6 of these things so far. Right?
Well, he was around 3 or 4. He had 2 bit parts in movies. We covered those, Monkey Shines and the clown Bill Murray movie that I've already.
No, that one came the year after this.
Oh, that came the year after this. Okay.
Right, but he was in. He had one line in a film called. Pritzi's Honor. No, he had a walk-on silent role in Pritzi's Honor.
I didn't realize that he didn't speak in that.
Line
the John Huston movie?
Yeah, he was in that Who's That Girl with Madonna, the Madonna movie.
Wow.
That's his one line.
One line.
Yeah. So this is like his...
This is very early on.
Oh, man.
This is his meatiest role, though, I think, since Monkey Shines. Because...
How long is his Monkey Shines?
I think it's similar to Slaves of New York in a lot of ways. Slaves of New York is also this kind of indie, very literary look at New York's art world. And he plays kind of a similar character in that.
But I think he's got a much more...
a gallery owner, so he's the money guy for these artists as well. But he's sort of on their level, whereas here... Of course, he's so far above.
Oh yeah, well, he just keeps falling into success. He just keeps tripping into it, which is hilarious.
He can't stop it.
Man, I think Max and I talk about this a lot, but it's always like, damn, why has no one asked like Stanley Tucci just regularly like, hey, what's Todd Solondz like? How come you like he gave you basically your big break, and like he was a little like he was like
up in
you saw what he looked like, but it's like he's like a little kid almost, and he was like directing the film, and it was like. Do you guys talk anymore? Like, I would love to see Tucci in like a modern Solondz film. I don't.
Yeah, think I wonder if this influenced him at all in his directorial work, because he also directs himself. Sometimes. I've got a quote from Tucci talking about filming himself, and he's like, sometimes it's difficult directing yourself on film because you can't quite separate yourself from the subject. And it's like, that sounds like something that you could have gotten from Todd.
Right.
I don't know.
So what started your guys' I'm sorry, Max, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, as Woody Allen, Todd Solondz displayed in this movie that it is sometimes hard. And I think that's one of the reasons why Solondz, too, stepped away from acting in front of the camera, David, as you say, because it is a little bit introspective, almost to a searing degree of pain, where you're like, oh, no, he's really,
people are like, this is
comic foil, but
and it's like, no, this is, this is kind of about me, but this is not literally my life, which it seems like it maybe is, but I don't know.
Well, he certainly can't admit it, or else his parents will be catching at him.
A really roundabout way of Todd Solondz telling his mom and dad that he was moving out and then moving back in very quickly.
Right. He had to make a whole movie for it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say that I think Tucci's role in this film, though, is almost mildly prophetic of his own success, you know, and his own sort of very commercial career, because he's in these huge commercial like projects all the time, but he still has that kind of artist soul that like this character in the film like has. And I just thought it was like an interesting, like prescient kind of casting decision that seems to have echoed into real life a little.
I think that's incredibly on point. I didn't actually put that together but when he does give that first in the background image that you have, I guess no, that's the second interaction that he has with Ira, Todd Solondz character. But that first interaction when he talks about, as Max said, how it's just, you know, like the success is just raining down upon him, that it is indicative of Tucci's own journey there a little bit. Nice connection.
So how did you guys get into Tucci to begin with? And apologies if I just never did.
Yeah, now you're probably away from there. They're like, let's talk about.
But we put it in our first episode. No, I was just curious because Stanley Tucci, like I worship certain actors. Philip Seymour Hoffman was like one of the biggest influences in my life. I mean, I have a little framed picture of him. And again, he's not like that everyday actor who everyone's like, I love him. Stanley Tucci's another one. He's a great fucking actor, but you don't really like see many people. So would you guys just like mutual fans of him? Was there like a certain film that like just fucking kicked you off for it?
I think part of what it was that there wasn't a one film. You know, he's not a one film kind of actor. He has huge range. He's, you know, he does villains, he does heroes, he does everything in between.
Sidekicks.
He's an actor's actor. He's
very true.
He's a writer and a director and a producer, but he's not seen as that. He's seen as an actor. Like all of these other things that he does are just to get to acting. He's been nominated for every award and has barely won anything.
I like those kind of people. Yeah.
Was he a theater guy? Like, was he?
He was
very much a theater guy.
Okay, obviously a big New York theater persona.
Grew up in Westchester, New York. You know, like very much that vibe.
He certainly fits the bill for his role.
I don't know my research, but I wonder how. I don't think I've done the research enough, or I just never found out how him and Todd crossed paths. I don't know if it was at NYU.
It would have been through NYU. It would have been, because he's worked with a lot of people, film students and people who are coming.
It makes sense, yeah. So he had just dropped out.
The New York film world in general during this decade, during the 80s.
Well, it makes sense,
and especially for films set in New York, just period.
Yeah,
like he's in like all of them. It is.
Yeah, our last 3 films have been about New York.
New York City,
the greatest city in the world.
I can only imagine that Tucci, actually, now thinking about it more, as you kind of give that background, and that they probably obviously were at NYU interacting with each other at some point, that Solondz then was probably like, this is the man perhaps who actually maybe even inspired a bit of the role. I mean, that's a kind of.
I mean, they would have been coming. They would have been different, slightly different circles, but still, like it's clear that he recognized Tucci's talent for the stage and script.
I can imagine that Tucci must have been a personality, certainly.
Yeah.
At the time, if he was a big New York theater guy, I mean, if he's already doing these movie roles, he's got to be.
Well, and again, everyone else in the film are not unknowns, but at the same time, they're younger. They seem kind of more like students, whereas Tucci is almost like, was this like Todd Solondz was like, we got this actor. Like, I know this guy.
Yeah. This guy's been on TV. He'll do
it for me because he's really generous. He's generous with his time, and he probably likes the idea of playing like an actor who's like, you know, like, oh, it's just like up his own ass kind of thing, and it's like, oh, beautiful. I get to play like kind of a parody of myself. Like, sure, you know, like. Yeah. So I kind of think. It's interesting how I just wonder, again, I'm kind of like, dude, like,
I'd be really curious to hear them talk about one another.
I'm like,
I want to hear.
What's your relationship?
Tucci and Todd.
You've never worked together after this. So it was, I mean, and Todd hates this movie, but at the same time, was Tucci like, this movie's great? And Todd Solondz is like, I disown it. And he's like, well, fuck you, man. I thought I was good, you know? So I don't know.
Well, as a rule, I think Tucci rarely badmouths his own movies. He's very positive in interviews. That's one of the things that
high performance.
Him. He doesn't hold grudges. He doesn't make enemies or rivals. He just is friends with everybody.
Just got that dartboard with Tucci.
Yeah, no, Solondz is not a fan of this movie. If you guys, again, just to go back and give you some Solondz info, and not that we know much about him other than what Wikipedia and IMDb.
Other than he is willing to give a cease and desist
interview
letter, no problem.
Yeah, for some reason he doesn't want us knocking on his door anymore. I don't
It's very
know,
strange.
weird.
Sitting outside his apartment building playing guitar didn't help, certainly.
He's
but
kind of a weirdo.
So I think we've built up this film enough. Why don't we? Because we like to do kind of a recap thing here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's just like go through scene by scene, and when we get to a Tucci, we'll stop and pause and reflect. So the film opens with, of course, Todd as his character Ira, writing to Samuel Beckett.
Right.
As one does when they're a young writer.
Yeah.
About how he really loves him. He wants to be a playwright just like him. And, that he wants to come and meet Samuel Beckett. And of course, he's never going to respond to that. Who's this guy? He's a nobody.
Are you guys Samuel Beckett fans at all? I'm a theater person.
I've read his extremely short stories collection, the very, the micro stories, the flash fiction. But other than
he definitely seems like I could understand why Todd likes him, but I'm like, oh God. But yeah, I could see how little depressed Todd Solondz was like, I love
Stanley Tucci.
Stanley
Tucci, yeah, Samuel Beckett. He's like, I love Stanley Tucci, yeah. He likes both of them. No. Not a big Samuel Beckett fan, but yeah, I love that. I love that he's like sitting there writing. He's like, "Dear Mr. Beckett," and it's amazing. We've also talked about this. I don't know about you guys, but if you didn't get a chance to watch Todd's short films that he made at NYU, they're all on YouTube. Except Babysitter is not. It's hard to find. You can find clips, but his first and last short films are on there, and he's the actor in both of those. And Max and I love Todd as an actor, and I wish he would act more. I think he's such a good actor in this whole movie. But yeah, like scenes where he's writing Samuel Beckett, I'm like, oh, it's amazing. It's just great. It's just because Todd Solondz was like, you mean I can't do this? Like I can't just write Samuel Beckett?
As most creative people think when you write.
I'm just
gonna like I'm in league with these people.
I'm gonna write
as you should if you're
exactly. We're gonna write John Cassavetes and be like, I need some help, man. And they're like,
it's gonna be a letter straight to him.
Yeah, they're like, he's been dead for quite some time. Anyways, I'm sorry. We have a tendency. Clearly,
we have a tendency to derail.
It's a good. You're like, we're just trying to stay on track. It's like, no, we don't plan on doing that.
No, we like going off the rails.
Anyways, but you're right. He's writing Samuel Beckett, and he's going
and then he immediately fucks up at his first job.
What is his first job? I forget.
It's the same as his last job.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, I forgot.
Charlie Chaplin.
I was just gonna say, I forgot about the bookends. That it's not only the last job, but it's his first. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, just the immediate, the title of the film is Fear, Anxiety, and Depression, and the anxiety that you get watching this guy fuck up this job, carrying panes of glass and driving the car while the guy is shouting him down. You gotta park over here. Come on, we're on a
What are you doing, you fucking idiot? Yeah, it's amazing.
Solondz will give you the literal title.
Film
physically happening in the first minute of the movie.
Now, here's a fun. Oh no, go ahead, Max. I'm sorry.
No, please go.
I was just going to say the original. I found this out yesterday. As someone who's always scouring IMDb facts, and I question them a little bit sometimes because you're like, who wrote this? But
it's verifiable.
Yeah, but they did say that apparently, and I've watched so many interviews with Todd, so I don't know if this is true or not. But apparently, the original title was supposed to be The Young and the Hopeless. But again, he had no creative control over this movie, which is why he kind of resents it so much. And but I like Fear, Anxiety, and Depression. I think that's a good title too. So I'm not picky.
I loved the title sequence too.
I was just gonna say I admired
which is
David's
what immediately follows.
It was so great. Yeah, the animation of Todd right there in the back behind David is so great. I wonder who did the animation, if it was him himself too. I wonder if
I don't believe so. There's a credit on that.
Is there a credit? Okay, cool.
Again,
there's certain people who are just so fun to caricature themselves. And so the whole movie is a caricature of him. And
he's
so
so self-aware,
he's so self-aware, just purely by the hair and the glasses and the
the Woody Allen affect.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can all agree. I mean, that was my biggest takeaway. Max and I agreed. We're like, oh my God, he's not trying to rip off. It's just another fellow New York, New Jersey, guy who's Jewish. Yeah, who's this is my life. I see my analyst and I'm having trouble with women. Sorry, and it's just I think we were talking about, Max, you were saying his artist friend is almost what Tony
Well,
Robbins.
he struck me first when I watched it as kind of being that Tony Robbins foil, like the good-looking, goy to the Woody Allen type. But it actually kind of struck me more this time when I rewatched it that this was more the Alan Alda type character with almost like his inflection a little bit too, and how it was a little more, maybe a little, not quite as kind as an Alan Alda character would be, because Alan Alda simply just has to be nice, even if he's killing people.
I don't know. Alan Alda in
is he sinister really in the
Crimes and Misdemeanors? Crimes and Misdemeanors. He's
not sinister. I mean, he's
not sinister. He's just like a pompous idiot. Yeah.
Did this film come out the same year as Crimes and Misdemeanors?
That's actually an interesting question. I never actually came across when Fear, Anxiety, and Depression, what the Woody Allen film.
You know what? I don't know, but it's funny that you say that, because I did look it up. This film originally premiered on December 8th, so we're almost coming up to like the anniversary of the film, which I was like, wow, Todd.
We're here.
All for you. Yeah.
Us four, the entire fan base.
Yeah.
That is what I want this video to do for this movie a little bit, because I greatly enjoyed it.
That's good. Yeah, we really enjoyed it too. Like, yeah, it really
I want
he doesn't want
us,
that, but
I want us to be ground zero for the Fear, Anxiety, and Depression cult fan base.
Well,
spearheaded by Stanley Tucci's performance.
There you go.
Well, yeah,
that's my goal.
Todd into a DVD release.
I was just gonna say, Tucci has he can be like, I really want one of my first films to be released, and Todd, I hate the film, but okay, like fine.
I like how Tucci and Todd were almost the same person there.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I needed more time.
More Tucci formation.
Right.
Yeah,
so, we go through, we meet the characters in the main character, Ira's life. We see him put on this terrible play about life and death, and everyone, it's called Despair, and everyone just goes, life, death, and like that's the play basically. And it gets of course ripped apart, and so we're introduced to
I love the scene with the reviews specifically because it's the way that it's done is it's a montage of everyone in the city, all races and creeds and classes.
Just some woman at like a laundromat reading it.
Right. Construction
everyone
workers.
is reading it, and like you hear their voice, narrating it. And so it's just Ira's anxiety about, oh my God, I'm not going to be respected by anyone. Everyone will have read.
I forgot about the voice changes. That's so excellent.
Yeah.
That's so
that echoes Solondz kind of that editing of him kind of doing those intercut sequences of a single kind of train of thought with different people kind of echoes. He does that quite a few times. He does it in Welcome to the Dollhouse, definitely.
Right.
But it's interesting too, not to get too far away from Stanley, but Todd really seems to, he doesn't like this movie, but it's so cool to see his formative, his brain really just kind of figuring out how to put a feature together.
Right, and of course, part of that is the songs, right? I mean,
the songs are another incredible part of it.
Don't get me started on the songs.
Stuck in my head forever.
The end credit song.
I was just gonna say we used it for our like ending of our first episode, and I just sit there and listen.
Don't let Todd hear.
Oh yeah. Fuck. I mean, we recorded it.
We re-recorded it ourselves.
We're gonna have our editor just like pop in like the best of at just random moments, because they're so good. Like, please just put them in here for like 10 seconds. They're incredible.
Yeah, the fact that Todd acts,
I think he composed them with,
and then sings his own credits is amazing.
I think he composed some of them with Jill Wistoff, who plays his girlfriend Sharon.
Sharon. Yeah, no, I actually didn't realize that the two of them, that she was the co-composer with him. I knew that because that was the only thing I had made the assumption too, that he actually wrote the songs in Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Right.
And not the case. So this is really his.
It was her. It was Sharon. She
was it really?
To write with him, yeah.
Look at that. See, informing us.
And
I didn't realize
she wrote the music to Welcome to the Dollhouse too?
Yes, she did.
Wow.
And so then she must be in that band. There's a band. That must be her in whatever band that is. I couldn't tell you the name of that band. Welcome to the Dollhouse. Who's making the music for the Steve Rogers character for that band? Like, that is an actual band.
Right. Again, and I said Ellie Mitzkin earlier. I'm talking about Happiness, and I'm jumping ahead. Sorry.
So of course
Jill Wistoff. She's great.
Yeah, no, seriously.
What do you know any of her other, does she have any other acting roles? She's so familiar to me.
She's not a huge actor. She's mostly a composer.
Okay.
And she did have one film, which I believe she wrote, directed, and starred in, called Creating Karma, which she also wrote a title song for it, that, a song titled Creating Karma, much
interesting.
Like
I'm gonna have to look into Well, thank you for informing us. I'm like, oh, that's I'm like, all right, we're gonna have to go back and redo our earlier video. Thankfully, we can.
It's a supplement. All of this is supplemental.
Interesting. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't realize, because I actually kind of had a hard time tracking down who was in the band that Welcome to the Dollhouse credits for those fake songs, and I didn't come up with her. So thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a very homemade aesthetic to the film. Like if Slaves of New York was a little bit more honest with itself, this is, I think, the movie that would have come out instead,
Yeah, definitely feels more true to, I guess the theater scene is slightly different from the New York art scene, but there's a lot of overlap for sure. It's a lot, and you've got the artsy character, the performance artist as well.
Right, and
who is such a great,
I'd say there's the performance artist,
multiple performance artists in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now is when we're meeting Junk for the first time, as Todd reluctantly goes out, or sorry, Ira, not Todd, reluctantly goes out, goes to a club,
mistake to make.
Goes to a club, and then sees this girl, this performance artist, and he's immediately smitten.
Who doesn't, when you walk in and see a girl hammering nails into a guy's chest? Honestly,
I have to say,
dropped,
I have to say about her, though, she is like the most manic pixie dream girl I've ever seen in all of movie history. It's phenomenal.
How to get those types.
I was just gonna say he knew his type right from the beginning.
I think at a certain point, when the manicness goes far enough, it almost becomes a subversion of itself. There's nothing that the viewer of this film, nobody wants him to be with Junk or wants to befriend Junk, or is I love this person. She's so off-putting.
It's infatuation,
as are all of Ira's to a degree. Infatuation, certainly. Boy,
I'm sorry, and again, I've been skimming over it, but I was looking at the Tucci parts a lot. But plot-wise, is Junk the one? Is that the one he does coke with? The performance artist?
Yes.
There's one point when he has a sequence of montage, I think.
He's
doing cocaine at the cafe with a love shirt on.
That's where we first hear "Neat Kind of Guy." His
love
song with her.
Yes. Oh man, I forgot it. That's so good.
So he has this other girlfriend,
right?
Sharon, who he meets on the train, I guess.
Sure, that's a wonderful sequence. On the subway.
one of generally my least favorite tropes, and I totally understand that the movie is making fun of it, and that's the whole point, but is the nerdy guy is ugh, a nerdy girl, how could I ever deign to kiss someone with glasses?
Right.
Well,
as Todd and Woody Allen both feel, are true Casanovas, actually, despite
they're you just don't understand.
Yeah.
Despite my 5'2"
right. Well, I think
body,
she's also
120 pounds.
Also, it seems like the reason that he wants to get away from her is because she reflects all of his anxieties back at him.
Yeah.
So anytime that he comes to her and it's I'm depressed, I hate myself, she'll be like, you hate yourself, you're amazing, I hate myself more.
I'm trash.
Absolutely.
And he's like, that's unattractive, which fair enough.
It's just his mirror. He's like, oh, I don't want to date someone anything close to me at all. I want someone not me. I don't want anything like me.
We all know that.
Junk.
Yeah.
Desperately lonely people, when they get what they want, a lot of the time they're simply just, unhappy with it anyway.
Right.
We should probably include a trigger warning of some kind for the jokes in Todd Solondz. He would be the first to admit that his jokes are not for everybody. He's willing to make light of some pretty dark things.
Yeah,
he doesn't want his own daughters to see his films.
Yeah,
and they're reaching their 20s at this point, I think.
Oh, really?
I think they're getting up there.
as great as this film is, definitely a major trigger warning for like just suicide in general and like
and
negative
rape.
self-talk
and
rape. Yes.
Yeah, there's a joke where the joke is that he's ignoring his girlfriend Sharon so much that he's literally not even paying attention to what she's saying or what she's doing. So there's a scene where he's just walking in the subway and two men come out of the shadows and just start raping,
attacking her,
take her away and tussle her in the
and
background.
then it just cuts away, because that's the joke. But it's very dark. And I mean, it's certainly not PC by today's standards.
No.
As a man who has a child molester as a protagonist for one of major films, it's definitely in his wheelhouse. Certainly,
it's indicative of what's to come. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
Yes. Todd Solondz.
Have you guys seen any other Todd Solondz films? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, not that I know of.
Really?
No.
Oh my goodness!
This is my first.
My only exposure was in a screenwriting class. They played the opening scene of Happiness as like, this is how you do
with
scene
John
writing.
Lovitz. Yeah, with John Lovitz. Yeah. Interesting.
So that was my only.
You should watch Welcome to the Dollhouse, especially because again, actually,
I really want to. I watched the trailer before
because it's really not like, and then this is not to diminish Todd, but actually it goes in kind of what we're saying. He wrote that while like filming this movie. Because he was
his redemption.
He was so upset with like how the process of this film was going. He's like, I gotta like write something else. And like,
can you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, can you, at least for me, can you, and I'm sure some of our listeners, could you just give a little like background about why Todd was so like upset during the filming of this process and like what
he had no creative control basically. So he dropped out of NYU and people are like, whoa, I saw your shorts, and like he was getting like 3 picture deals, like kind of thing. But he, is a young, I think he was in his 20s when he made this film. Just from my inference, again, I don't never talk to the man himself, and just from the little he said, he just has referred to it as like an incredibly demoralizing experience. Like he had very little creative control. The producers were pretty much like kind of running the movie, I think. From my, like I said, I'm just kind of guessing from what I've been reading, but it's just his lack. He had like no control over it. So I think.
Yeah, I think like most, and I can speak from a little bit of experience, but a lot of the time when you're in, film school, you have kind of a storied, existence, and you have a lot of people who are there to help you out and a lot of collaboration. And certainly fear, anxiety, and depression shows for me as the epitome of kind of a film school thesis. It feels very much like he got the best production design guy from NYU and all of his buddies together. And I don't know if this is when he meets up with the director of photography who ends up being Tim Burton's DP, but he clearly was making all the connections with his fellow students and putting that together. But again, when you get out of that environment of the safety of NYU and that kind of control that's helping you out, and maybe a professor or someone else who's guiding your hands, boy, the real world in filmmaking is it's a stressful experience. I mean, it is so much pressure. And as a writer, half of the reason why I believe he didn't make another film after this and kind of had gotten out of the game was that the pressure of a writer, director, and I mean, producer, and then star of the film. I mean, can you imagine that kind of a stress? And I think his performance and what he gets out of it is incredible for being just a student. I mean, debut. Again, he was not a student at this point, but
for saying how much he lacks creative control, it seems like still like so much in his own voice, and it seems like he still has such
I mean, I think it's a post situation.
Yeah, I mean, I just can imagine like if this is you not having creative control, what was this film gonna look like originally?
Right.
Wow. And I think Max, I always go back to what you said, like, because you said, when you were in film school, if you were seeing some of his shorts come out, you would have been like, I'm done. I can't do this. Like, this guy has clearly figured it out, like, right from the get-go. You know what I mean? And he does. He's such a mature director, like, right.
Someone who's a talent and has a vision from the get-go.
Yeah, definitely a vision.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Talent, he's got a little work to do. But yeah, I mean, once he... kind of finding his voice, which I think ultimately the voice that he finds in this, and I don't mean to get ahead of ourselves here, but with this film is that the voice is not his voice. That's ultimately what he finds. He finds that that's maybe not his best method. So I know you guys haven't seen his film, but we never quite see another character like Ira, like Todd Solondz. And Todd Solondz, unfortunately, never acts again in any of his films.
I also think it's interesting because we compare it to like this Woody Allen kind of like in, you know, kind of exploration or whatever, but it's really like, I think he realizes like, oh, that's not me. Like, I can do that. I can do this kind of clever New York kind of like comedy, kind of like tongue-in-cheek, where it can get really dark, but at the same time, it's all like lighthearted. I think he kind of realized like, that's not me. Like, I can kind of
Sure, there's almost
get out of the city almost, you know,
because
he's from Jersey.
Or like Zucker brothers.
Yeah, he's from Jersey, exactly. Yeah, and he's from Jersey, and so as soon as you get into like Welcome to the Dollhouse again, like Heather Matarazzo, the girl who plays Dawn Wiener, as someone who just doesn't like kids usually and doesn't like child actors,
just doesn't like kids generally.
Heather Matarazzo, and really like every kid in that film, it is like, where did you find these kids? It's incredible. I mean, Heather Matarazzo is such an amazing actress, but part of me thinks it's like, no, it's just like, it's the script that Todd's writing. It's like he just knows how to get these like, I think
he's an actor. He's an actor's director. To a large extent, certainly.
Yeah,
which makes sense with the Tooch as an actor's actor.
Absolutely.
You know,
nice transition.
Bring
so
it
we
in
get to his introduction scene. So this is after Ira has gotten his bad reviews. He's just had a suicide attempt. He tried to hang himself and then immediately crashes to the floor.
The ceiling falls out. Yes,
it's a humorous suicide.
Oh, I love
Ashby would be jealous. Yeah.
While his girlfriend is singing about how much he loves him.
I love you.
Wonderful sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Right.
Good.
So this is right after that, and almost immediately he's confronted by an old friend from like when he was a kid, who has now become this huge success, and who
Donnie
is it?
Conkle.
Donnie Conkle, played by
what a name.
Stanley Tucci.
You know that was very close to a real person.
Right.
You know there was a Donnie Conkle in Todd Solondz' life.
Right.
Yeah,
Donnie Coleman. Donnie.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Donnie Goldman.
Right. And so he's talking about, oh yes, I've struck it rich. I've got my own recording studio. I was going with Molly Ringwald's sister to see a Sam Shepard play.
The Sam Shepard play. What a
and
detail.
so I fell in love with theater, and I wrote my first play in like a night, and then it immediately got picked up, and everyone's saying that I'm amazing.
You must know how it is. You're still in the theater, right?
Yeah.
You write plays still, don't you?
It's literally like Todd Solondz is just like complete, just like dream that he probably has like every night, where he's like, this isn't fair. Like I do so much work, and like this guy just this schmuck just, you know, like totally just again falls into success.
Well, the epitome too, looking back on it and talking about the movie, you know, on the anniversary as we're almost to here, it's really sad. I mean, it's not sad, it's wonderful, because Todd Solondz went on to make many wonderful films, and Stanley Tucci is an incredible actor working to this day. But man, Todd Solondz must have really been feeling these feelings while making this film, and then double that after the film came out and he didn't work for 4, 5, 6 years.
Despite him not liking it, it's such a personal script, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny,
it's one of those like
silly, but it's like there is so much truth kind of like in between the lines there.
It reminds me so much,
Yeah.
like incredibly, it so reminds me of Charlie Kaufman's adaptation.
That's a good inference.
Being confronted
really
with
like
a
that.
writer who you see as lesser, who hasn't suffered like you for their art, who isn't a thinker like you for their art, and yet they're beloved by the public.
Wow, that's a great comparison.
Kaufman and Solondz are two of the greatest pessimists in American film.
I was just gonna say, talk about what an interview that would be between Kaufman and Solondz. It would be like, what do you think? It's like, I don't know. What do you think?
Hey, Charlie's very jovial now.
I was to say, I have no idea what Charlie Kaufman talks like, so that was me pulling that out of my ass.
He's a pretty average gentleman.
Yeah, but that's a great. I love adaptation. I never really thought about that comparison between like Nick Cage's little twin characters, like the brother that just falls into success, you know, and it's just like
it's also
very
autobiographical.
Yeah, you haven't gone through this artistic
himself.
Struggle that I've gone through, so you don't deserve success. Which is again like so many artistic, creative people go through that, but it's like that's so silly because it's like, well, unfortunately, struggle doesn't necessarily equate to success. Like that's an unfortunate truth that I think we all learn. It's like, yeah, sometimes life just sucks, and it doesn't mean you're going to be a famous playwright at the end of it. Like,
right.
And also, you don't need to like struggle and have it suck to like do.
Yeah, sometimes you can just do good work and you just have talent, and you're like,
as his best friend tells him,
yeah,
suffer. Exactly. It's not true. It's not true.
You don't need to suffer, and I think Todd is like, you have to. That's what art is about, you know.
Oh, he suffered certainly.
Yeah.
Speaking of suffering, this is the scene where he takes his parents to go see Helen, the musical.
Yeah,
Helen of Troy.
It's about Helen of Troy,
and it's so commercial and so terrible that he's like, I have to go home and write the Great American Play.
And I mean, lest we forget that is what Donnie's recording studio just finished laying down the tracks to as they encounter one another on the streets of New York. So Donnie is just coming off of the success of Helen being recorded with, Bruce Springsteen's ex-girlfriend who's with him too. So.
Yeah, it's all these like people of people. Yeah, like Molly Ringwald's sister.
Hey, the Molly Ringwald sister got me deep. Still feeling that one. Yeah, I mean, and then when do we next? So that was my thing. I couldn't remember. I was like, do we encounter Donnie twice or 3 times? And we do
3 times, 3 or 4 times. I think
3 times.
I think that's the magic number for Donnie.
Right. One day of shooting, just like
his and again, not to get too far ahead of ourselves again, but his journey, Donnie's journey that we see in these 3 visits is like just hilarious. Yeah. I mean, his final again. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, but his final interaction with him is just hilarious. It's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah. So, we continue on with Ira, and he meets Junk again. Yes. Working at he's immediately
coffee
shop.
I would like to go out with this girl in the coffee shop.
He goes for the min. He goes for the min, which is 50-cent copies. And he was going to just make 1 copy, but
Yeah.
The min is 50 cents. He's like, oh, okay.
Right. But so he wants to break up with Sharon, and so they have.
And he tries to.
Is Sharon the mime? Is that right? Sharon's
yes.
Mime,
she
right?
says she mentions that she's a mime.
Oh, we haven't seen the mime yet.
But he gives this lovely speech to her that sounds like it's almost like a proposal speech, but is really trying to be a breakup speech. And then she attempts suicide off of a bridge, and so he decides to stay with her.
Ira turns it around quickly though, and manages to snatch her off that bridge with some kind words. But no, talk about the time to end a relationship. Not the best opportune moment on a bridge, certainly.
So, but like also, it's like, Sharon, you're not making this any easier on yourself. And then but
then 2 scenes later, he's trying to break up with her again, and then she actually does try to commit suicide by taking a bunch of pills, and there's again a dark humorous scene of driving her to the hospital, and she's like gurgling and like dying.
That is when they go straight Zucker brothers, when there's the doctors looking down on her and they pull literally a bottle of pills from her
stomach.
Exactly. I was also going to say though that back in that earlier scene when they're on the bridge together, that when she's going to jump, Ira refers to this relationship status as miracles. He talks about how relationships and love are miracles, and then he ends it with, but this isn't a miracle. I just thought that was just the worst possible way to break it to someone, but also very elegant and
very writerly.
But just a poor.
I would not say tasteful at all, but I would definitely say writerly.
Love is a miracle, though. Love is a miracle.
This is not a miracle.
That itself was not elegant, that delivery, but the concept of love is a miracle. Also juxtaposed with suicide multiple times also.
So while his girlfriend is in the hospital, he writes her a letter like, oh, you've inspired me. I believe in love again because of you, and I'm going to write because of you, and I'm thinking of you, and then immediately like tries to get a date with Junk and tries to meet her outside of a movie theater, which is when we have the return of the Tucci in the car.
Yes.
What are the chances of us meeting at this gay Chilean film festival or whatever?
But he invites him to like some crazy producer's house and is like, you should come along.
That's what's so interesting. Tucci is kind of a douchebag, but he's also like friendly and hospitable, and is like, come on, like
he's not a douchebag.
Yeah, he's not a douche. Yeah, he's super nice.
He's just unknowing. He's just like, what? I fell into success, and Ira's just like,
Well, so you're coming
like,
from Ira's point of view.
Exactly, of course. I am Ira. I am with Ira in the situation. I'm just like, motherfucker. Like,
what it is it's the entire like Chad Virgin dynamic where we've got Stanley Tucci, Stanley Tucci clearly as the Chad in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's inviting the Virgin to join the Chad ways.
Great.
Yeah, but the Virgin is just, he took the black pill, and so now he's like, I can't do any of that. Life is suffering.
He does have some obnoxious tendencies, though. He's not an obnoxious person, but he has some things. One thing I noticed in like the first scene we see him in is he says, "Oh, I'm totally being obnoxious right now," which of course prompts Ira to say, "No, of course not." But that's a douche move. Yeah. That's what you do when you are obnoxious and you're trying to get somebody else to think you're not.
To let you off
by
the
saying,
hook.
"Oh, I'm so obnoxious." And then, no, because what is he going to say? Is he going to say, "Yes, you're being obnoxious right now"?
Agreed.
No better way than to follow that with, "Here's my mom, by the way."
Yeah.
Right.
This is my
And then
mother.
there's the in the last scene that we see him in, to jump ahead a little bit, is he does the thing where he says, "Look how depressed I am. I'm so depressed." Right. And he's like, "You're not depressed. I'm depressed." Well, you're like
you're depressed in the, like,
sensitively successful depression.
You're sensitive, intellectual depressed. I'm just like rich depressed.
Hey, when you're the American Samuel Beckett.
I was just gonna say it's amazing dichotomy to be like, whoa, wait a minute. We gotta compare our depressions here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's
depression's more legit than your depression,
Exactly.
Stanley Tucci.
The movie is a roving depression-a-thon, basically. Just Solondz trying to exercise his own demons and come up with as many characters who can reflect the depression upon each other as possible.
Right. And also, like Woody Allen and like Philip Roth, there's definitely a lot of sexual inadequacy going on here. The Virgin thing is not just a metaphor, Anna.
No, it's not.
There's a lot of trouble making it with women. Should we go through his attempts at sexual intercourse?
That's important. Unlike Woody Allen, Ira's character is not actually very successful with women, whereas Woody Allen's alter egos, in fact, were very, in his narrative, were very cunning. But as we know, we won't discuss that subject any further. But
so he tries to make it with Junk, and Junk is talking about like, all of my sexual fantasies are castration based, and that's like the biggest turn on for Ira, who has no self-esteem. But also
like, this woman is like, I always date gay guys.
I always date gay guys. I'm sure I'm HIV negative, but I always date gay guys. And are you gay? You're involved in the theater. I mean, that must mean you're gay. It's like, well, I'm making a pass at you. Well, that's no proof at all.
He might have been interested in that Rock Hudson bio, so I'm not quite sure where he was coming from.
That's good.
Yeah, there's a lot about. There's a few jokes about HIV.
There's timely.
She ends up eventually like leaving him for his artist friend, who is also sleeping with this blonde, terrible actress who Ira also has a huge crush on. And so
he's also sleeping with his agent too.
Right, that's true. The friend is sleeping with his agent, but then eventually she gets bored of it and is like, "You're not a good artist.
Terrible art."
And, like,
hammer. She's like, "Oh, it's so derivative."
I mean, it's very different, Hannah, again, to make another comparison to Slaves of New York. Where in that film, everyone is sleeping with people that they think are the greatest artists on earth. In this movie, everyone's sleeping with people, and then they have to tell them after they have sex, "I actually think your art is terrible. I think your plays are terrible."
This is settling. Yeah, this is a compromise here.
I don't mean to get us off topic too much, but give me a quick idea of Slaves of New York. I mean, I know almost nothing about this movie. Give me just a really brief. What's that about?
So it's based on this collection of short stories.
Okay.
And it stars Bernadette Peters in the art world of New York.
Interesting.
It's this movie, but everyone's like douche level is turned up like 4 degrees or so.
I can imagine that. Sure.
Yeah.
Less self-deprecation.
It's really about like the way that men treat women in New York and how the pressure,
or how partners treat each other, and it's a lot of like, only in New York, but can you believe like, New York? Like a lot of that.
But is it satirical or more just a drama?
It's definitely satirical.
It's definitely satirical. Yeah.
There are tones that are similar to this, but it doesn't go as far with.
It doesn't. It can be read a little straighter.
Very
How
small.
big is Tucci's part in the film?
Oh, it's pretty
smaller
small.
than this.
Okay. So this, like you said, this was like the first kind of big
meaty role,
breakout for the Tucci.
A little bit, yeah. That wasn't like starring TV appearance or something.
He leaves an incredible impression. Like his obviously, as he went on to great success, but his effectiveness in the movie is very pointed, and as he is used almost as that guidepost in the film in those 3 appearances to kind of let us know where we're at in the movie. Yeah. I mean, he is a perfect guy for that role. I'm honestly trying to think of who else could be in a kind of similar role like that at the time in New York in the 90s. I'm like, he didn't have, I can't say
Buscemi.
because I wasn't.
Right.
Hey.
Because he was in Slaves of New York as this great.
Nice,
he had a great appearance in Slaves of New York.
That's funny. I was like New York actors.
That's a good comparison though. Tucci and Buscemi. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
they're good friends.
I was gonna say, did they cross paths at any point? Of course they do.
Yeah, they don't act together again after Slaves of New York. I'm pretty sure, but they've produced things together. They know each other.
They've been in similar circles.
I don't know why it's always surprising, and it shouldn't be at this point. But you think of these huge communities of the world of film and of theater, but then it's always like it's a small world because of course we know each other and are best friends and like eat at dinner at their house every weekend,
right?
Willem Dafoe or something.
Right, of course.
That's who I want to throw in there. By the way, I'm like Stanley Tucci, Steve Buscemi, and Willem Dafoe. That's Thanksgiving dinner, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. Willem Dafoe would be too intense. Stanley Tucci is very mellow.
Stanley Tucci is very nice. Yeah, I think Willem Dafoe strikes me as being a very relaxed and mellow guy. This is talking Dafoe. We've transferred this into the Dafoe corner.
This is now the Dafoe debrief.
I like that. Dafoe debrief.
Since we've already had our Defoe debrief, we usually like to do a
please stop.
A whomst we also usually an actor from the film whomst we also stand. However, a lot of these people I know not at all.
Not a lot of faces coming back in the world of film again after this.
You got to stand some Solondz, and like I said, watch Welcome to the Dollhouse. I seriously think. I mean, again, like. I don't want to undercut Solondz, but I think that is his most tame film. Again, Max, I'm not trying to, you don't probably understand what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to undercut him and say, but I just think that the reason why it is so successful, it's so subversive, but he's able to do it in a way that's like, he doesn't need to like have a character that's like a child molester or someone who's like, like killing themselves. It's very much just like a girl's experience like in middle school, which anyone can relate, is miserable as fuck.
Sure.
Like
it's like Philip Roth meets Judy Bloom, since you referenced Philip Roth earlier.
Perfect.
If you can make that inference and all.
No, but
that sounds like a terrifying.
That's the perfect kind of pitch language.
I think that's why Happiness is such a big jump. People are like, oh, he's so provocative. He's such a, and it's like, no, he's always been like this. It just happens that the film that you saw that really like jump-started his career didn't have a lot of that in that, just because Todd Solondz was like, well, this is a film about like a 12-year-old girl's life. Like, no one's killing themselves. I'm sorry. Like, that's just not a plot. Yeah. That's not what I wrote, and whereas it's not like I didn't want to include it. It's just like, no, it's just not relevant to what story I'm telling here.
That's in a similar sense to that. I think directors a lot of the time need to feel that self, as we see Todd/Ira is clearly has a little bit of a issue with his confidence. Right, it's interesting to see how directors kind of address that when they bring more serious subject matter. And I don't mean to go too far off into Todd Solondz, but I guess Wes Anderson, I remember, talks about at one point how he didn't feel like that there was ever a point where a character could die in that there could be that dramatic moment in any of his films until Royal Tenenbaums happened, when the character attempts to commit suicide. That just seemed inappropriate, if you will, Right. So it's right. But it's like Solondz doesn't quite have that gumption. Like I don't think he feels it necessary. But then when he gets a little more comfortable, it's not so much, oh, this is a movie with a child molester in it. It's more, can I make a movie about a child molester that is going to get maybe even dare I say,
Empathy in some
sympathetic
way,
or empathetic reaction from the audience, which is, of course,
a little bit of Nabokov.
Perhaps he read a few of those, as we see that in Fear and Anxiety and Depression. He goes despair. He's ripping off Nabokov already. Right. So he mentions that directly. So it's definitely there for sure.
And then it's all the like the usual suspects of playwrights that keep getting referenced. Ionesco and
absolutely.
And Beckett, we already mentioned.
I don't know if he has any little Chekhov in him at all. I don't know, Mac. What do you think?
They don't mention Chekhov. Maybe
I don't think so. I swear there was like a moment.
Because you pull Happiness. You're a big Happiness is Chekhov believer.
I think that's maybe what I'm thinking. Like I think there's parts in Happiness where I'm like, oh my god, this is like straight him just doing like a Chekhov, like kind of rip, like this is the seagull kind of thing. Or
he's a big theater guy, obviously.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Those influences are certainly there.
It's just really like emotional, like just like talking all through your emotions and how just life is suffering and all this, Russian.
Sure, which he parodies excellently.
Yeah, so I don't remember. I need to watch Happiness. Like I've seen it like 10 or 15 times at this point, but I probably should watch it again and see like.
Yeah, I think you were saying it was reminding you of Three Sisters.
Interesting. Or maybe not Three Sisters, but maybe Uncle Vanya.
Perhaps
it might have been Uncle it might have been.
Well, as much as we love talking about Chekhov, though, and I'm sure people are like, and end it.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think as far as standing other fans, I think he's right. I mean, if you guys have the opportunity, Solondz is certainly divisive, but he's worth the time, even if you don't end up enjoying what he has to say. I think that he's just somebody who makes people think and wants to get you to talk to people, and what we all love to do, talk about film. And he certainly had us discussing like endlessly when we first were, discovering him.
I think he's a guy
way back when.
I think he's a guy too that like he is one of the first people that's like, I'm not trying to be provocative. And I know a lot of people are like,
which is the angle that people see him as.
You know what I mean? Right. And there are some people who are like, I'm not trying to do this. It's like, sure, you are, though. You're literally just trying to like show you're being extreme. Whereas Solondz is, I feel like he does it. And again, I think we would always talk about it. It's like, watch one interview with him. If you think he's like this edgelord, like
trying to upset people.
Yeah, and he's like, it's like, dude, watch one interview with this guy. He just wants like money to make more movies, and like that's all. He's like, please, like I just want to make a movie. Like that's it. Please. Yeah, and he's like, I didn't mean to upset anybody. I was just making a movie. Like he doesn't like. He's just like, if people like it,
he's so sly. He knows what he does.
Well,
at the same time,
I think he's just like, but at the same. He's just like an innocent guy that's just kind of like, I'm just making movies, man.
I'm an innocent man.
I'm not trying to like push the envelope. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. I think it's a both. Right. He's sort of trying, of course, being provocative and making interesting art, but at the same time, like he's the edgelord complex that people try to like associate with him, and he's like, he's just trying to like get banned. It's like, I don't think so. I think he's just like trying to tell a story.
He's just a weird guy, and this is what his stories are.
He's a quirky guy that's like, this is my story, and it's like,
if you guys ever get to see palindromes, you're gonna be like,
yeah, palindromes.
Pushes it pretty far.
It's amazing though.
So the whomst we also for this week is our boy Todd. David, since we're running low on time, do we want to talk about?
I wonder why. Two of us.
Do we want to really quickly sort of talk about Tucci's last few appearances and the end of the film?
Let's wrap it up a little bit. There's more romantic, insecurity
drama
with Ira, but it all ultimately culminates in the final meeting with Donnie.
Wonderful scene,
which we alluded to
in his high-rise apartment.
Because of course Donnie wants to read his old friends, his old school friends play,
and he loves it.
Blown away. He's eating while he's talking about it, which is kind of dismissive, but he's clearly very passionate about it. So he's like, it was amazing. You're great. Here's what we do. We're not gonna bring critics to that first premiere. It's just gonna be friends, and then we're gonna move and we're gonna expand, and this is what we're gonna do. And it's great. Everything seems great, except for then he sort of leans into look at how depressed I am. You got a healthy depression. You got an artist depression. Mine is just
it's a rich
void.
Guy's depression.
He had no happiness for his success. He's just
until
nothing.
until a beautiful temptress came into his
A beautiful
life.
mime.
Yes. And it's Sharon. It's Sharon. His nerdy ex-girlfriend, Ira's nerdy ex-girlfriend, is now dating the success.
Still
and
alive.
She's very happy with him. And they end up having a conversation after Ira's play, which we find out is kind of all about her a little bit. he uses the miracles line to end the play.
Forgot about that.
And you know,
it's all full circle, you know.
Yeah.
At the end, he, you know, sure, he has this play, but it doesn't fulfill him. He goes back to moving glass.
He's like, Ira, you idiot! No.
Right, but this time the joke is played all off screen.
Oh yeah,
which is
important.
And then he gets thrown out of a building, or he jumps out of a building. One of those things, and he hits the ground.
Out.
And he catches a letter that's also fallen, and it's a letter from Samuel Beckett saying to keep writing.
Keep writing.
Full circle.
It's incredible. What a great brick joke.
I always feel like I'm gonna sit there and realize I'm gonna get a letter, but it's gonna be like a cease and desist from Todd Solondz.
Right.
He's gonna have someone throw you out the window.
Cease and desist are the
he can't do it himself.
Version.
Yeah.
Just
but
email.
Becket's like the centerpiece of the whole thing, because like Donnie's last scene is where he's talking about, they keep comparing me to Beckett.
He's an American
you're
Beckett.
The new Beckett, the American better than Beckett. So I talked about it, you know, with Beckett.
That just
close.
Like,
you can see Todd just be like, I'm going to kill you. Like, I'm just, it's amazing. It's so ironic.
You know, I told Beckett about you and how great you are. He said he'd never heard of you. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. You just said it's like a bad dream. That's an interesting.
Yeah, it is. I'm just saying, it's like all these, they're like bad dreams of like.
It's his anxiety. It's his fears of what could happen with a meeting.
It is quite nightmarish.
Very much so. Yeah, I think that the idea of Sharon as the mime who, you know, Donnie says she tells us that Donnie proposed to her and that they're going to get married. So like finally she has somebody who needs him and needs her and
preferred.
Yeah, she's clinging to me. I love it.
But of course she's always told like not to speak. There's, you know, I mean she's a mime, but people are still like interrupting her and saying, "Wait, don't say anything, just let me explain."
Solondz' introspection into the artist's struggle is just
to the mime.
Poignant,
The tears of a mime.
David Bowie can relate, I'm sure.
So that's pretty much the movie. It's incredible. Definitely check it out. I hope that
it's really lost. It's lost at this point. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
It's a lost film almost, which is
Pirate Bay.
I mean, we in no way
endorse. If you can find it, wink,
that.
wink.
Yeah.
We encourage piracy on this podcast.
Hey, watch out. Todd's got the radar cranked to 10 at this point, so he's local. Yeah.
Oh shit.
So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Wait.
We really appreciate you being here. We were hoping that we could end with one of our usual segments, which is Tucci News, the latest news.
Tucci News.
Very nice.
So just feel free to listen or to chime in if you have a comment. But this is the latest report from the trades. You know, from the trade papers.
Hot from Variety.
And this is, do you want to start, Hannah?
So once again, we're talking about the new movie Supernova, which has it truly debuted yet? I know it debuted at some film festivals, but is it released to the public at this point?
I don't know where it's available. Sorry.
It's available somewhere. We're gonna find it though, because apparently the studio has nominated Tucci for Best Supporting Actor in an Oscar bid. And you know, there's plenty of positive
they put a 4-year
buzz.
consideration. They haven't they haven't nominated, but it's a potential Oscar.
Yeah.
That's news.
And McQueen is the director. Max, do you know who that is? Harry McQueen.
No, not somebody I'm familiar with.
Colin Firth is in it with him. It looks like.
Yeah. It's been getting pretty good reviews. It's about Stanley Tucci plays a character with dementia, and he and Colin Firth are lovers who are basically traveling through to their friends and family before he, sort of loses himself completely. And it's sort of like a nostalgic, melancholy like look back on these two men's lives together and with their friends, and everyone's very much enjoying
sad.
it.
Wow.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna make you cry, but I'm in it for the Tooch.
Tooch is ready to squeeze those tears out. He's gonna get
yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I think it's definitely, let's read just a few like quick segments of the article that I think are interesting.
I think the opening is great. Yeah.
Why don't you read that?
So the title is, Has Stanley Tucci Found His Supernova Oscar Vehicle This Year with Colin Firth? Because the movie is Supernova. The label of a character actor tends to be interpreted as general audiences calling someone that guy in a movie. Stanley Tucci seems slightly above that description, bringing memorable and popular performances to the mainstream, which, like, absolutely Stanley Tucci is above a character actor.
Like, he's one of the top that guys, if not the top of that guy.
He is that guy, but, like, you never have to go, who's that guy? You're just like, oh, it's Stanley Tucci.
It's Tucci.
Great, it's Tucci. And so this will be a category, hopefully, that is favorable to Tucci, since it has been favorable to other well-known and overdue veterans of Hollywood for numerous pictures. They sort of list a few examples: J.K. Simmons and Whiplash, Mark Rylance and Bridge of Spies, Christopher Plummer and Beginners, Alan
these are
Arkin.
our recent winners of Best Supporting.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to jump to the last paragraph where they say, it's worth noting that Firth and Tucci share equal amounts of screen time, and their roles can easily be interpreted as co-leading. And there will be undoubtedly members of the press and the film watching community that will call out Tucci's submission as category fraud. The writer of this article, Clayton Davis of Variety, says he thinks it is a leading role. When it comes to the Academy, they hardly reverse these types of submissions. And when it comes to actors as well, like Tucci, people tend to bend the rules to get them their due. So I think this could be it. This could be it. This could be it for him. Yeah. If we get to report on his first ever Oscar win in the year 2020, which is going to be the weirdest Oscars.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean,
has he had nominations? Has he not had nominations?
He's had one nomination.
What was his one?
Devil Wears Prada or something. Yeah, like,
was it Devil Wears Prada?
Honestly, I swear, like, I'm guessing, but I'm like, it could be.
It's not Devil Wears Prada. It was not Spotlight. What was it? I'm sorry.
Is it Lovely Bones? It was Lovely Bones.
Oh, really?
Of course,
yeah.
Oh,
wow. Film, right?
The only thing I know about that is Ryan Gosling was too fat for that.
I mean, it's the Oscars, so it's not really like a signifier of a perfect signifier of quality. Right. You're more likely to get it if you're playing a
recognition
pedophile murderer or a person with a disability. So
Bryan Cranston's tends to be. Dang it!
Yeah. No, the director of that film is interesting. He's like a British actor. He's only like acted in like two. He was in Me and Orson Welles, the fucking Richard Linklater
one,
and then like just has done a bunch of shorts and directed like one film in 2014, and then like
so he's ready to go.
Film. Yeah, so it's like oh shit, this is like just a young guy who's probably had a film or two.
Interesting.
Ready to kind of get out of him.
You guys have made it sound appealing to me. I'm curious.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the cover and I'm like, I like the poster. I like the plot. Okay, I like both actors. Yeah. I'm interested.
Our plan is definitely to check it out. So, we'll stay tuned, stay updated. We will bring you the latest and greatest in Tucci news.
You have
I'm just going to close out with I'm just going to close out for the final thing. This will be the last line is our Tucci fun fact of the week.
Tucci fun fact. Tucci
So does anybody want to guess what Tucci's allergy is?
Shellfish.
Oh.
Peanuts.
Shellfish, peanuts.
Dairy for an Italian is
lactose intolerant. Okay.
He's not. He says, I have a high metabolism. I don't eat dairy. I'm allergic, but I can eat goat cheese. Thank God. So
What?
that's his.
Just like goat
that's
cheese.
his-
Very
pizza.
New York, very New York.
Yeah.
He's like, I can eat goat cheese. Thank God. It's like, what are
The
you
Devil Wears
talking
Prada
about?
rubbed
Yeah.
off on him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. What the hell are you talking about?
It's all the Italian.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
It's
thanks
all
so much. Do you guys want to plug your Twitter or whatever, and then?
Oh, we
Yeah,
don't even
tell
have that. But hey, we have our update coming out. Under the Influence. It's on YouTube. Thank you again. I can't even,
Absolutely. It's been an honor to be on here with you guys. You guys, your show is wonderful, and we're absolutely delighted to have been here. This is a lot of fun.
Jealous of the continuity and the dedication you guys
the
have.
continuation of your series is
wow,
inspiring.
You did more than 3 episodes.
You did more than 2 videos. Oh my God.
Max and I, we're kind of like a British show. We do like 4 episodes, and then
we're like the early
That's
Terrence
the end.
Malick of YouTube.
Yeah.
A video every couple of years. Perhaps. We're gonna start pumping them out though.
Yeah,
soon.
exactly.
Well, thank you again
thank you, seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for being on and sharing all of your passion for Todd and for fear, anxiety, and depression.
Todd,
and
hopefully we'll see a release one day. Fingers crossed, we will actually see this movie released. Please, if anybody's watching, absolutely.
Well, I don't know when you're posting this, but happy holidays as well, because
absolutely
we're in December.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
have a happy holiday season. Todd Solondz is not really the holiday director, but he could be.
Oh,
fear, anxiety,
new holiday
fear, anxiety, and depression could be the new Christmas film that we all have been waiting for.
It honestly seems very relevant for 2020.
December 8th release.
Of all years.
December 8th. Yeah, come on. So.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
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 I'm just like.